commissioners.
Thank you for coming to give your testimony this afternoon. But perhaps before we take your testimony, just to also inform the members of the public that are following the proceedings that we are back to conduct another phase of our hearings, which commences today and is tentatively supposed to end on the 6th of August 2026. I say tentatively because there might be changes here and there, depending on how things go. So we'll run the interviews the same way that we have done in the past, where we have witnesses and we ask them the questions that they need to give their evidence on. But I think the most important thing is that in the interest of transparency and accountability, we have a fully functional website where members of the public, including members of the media, can obtain information concerning our work and our hearings. We also have contact details on the website where you can reach us for any queries that you may have with respect to the hearings that we are conducting. But also you can use those contacts to share with us any information that you think may be of assistance in the work that we are doing. Having said that, Ms. Desiree Hamid, my name is Justice Alfred Mavetsenke. I'm the chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry on the Montagne Posee prison incident of December 2024. I will give fellow commissioners the opportunity to introduce themselves for the record and to yourself.
I am Melchior.
Pleased to meet you.
Victor.
Pleased to meet you.
Thank you, honorable commissioners. On our extreme left is our secretary for the commission, Miss Chelsea Albest, whom I'm sure you have interacted with before. So I will ask her to administer the oath for you so that we can officially take your evidence after that. Okay. So, Secretary, could you proceed to administer the oath?
Are you a Christian or do you follow another denomination?
I'm Christian.
You can lift up your right hand and repeat after me. I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give to this commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you, Mrs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Ms. Chelsea Albest, and thank you, Ms. Desiree Hamid. Welcome again. So I will just remind you of a few rules that we would like you to adhere to. We do this for every witness who appear before us. So in addition to the other rules that the Secretary has explained or referred to you during the interactions before the hearing, one of the rules that we would like you to adhere to is to make sure that you share with us only the truth and nothing but the truth.
Sure.
It is a criminal offense for anyone to deliberately withhold information from the commission or to share deliberately misleading, false information with the commission. And we would like you to answer all the questions that you are going to be asked by the commissioners, and please answer them as they are asked. It may happen that sometimes commissioners may ask or it may look like the commissioner is asking the same question that has been asked. There is a reason why they do so, and your responsibility is simply to answer the question to the best of your knowledge. We would like you to refrain from using vulgar language or from using language that is disrespectful to others that you may mention in your testimony. But if you need to share with us evidence that amounts to vulgar language, we would like you to just indicate to us that you have a piece of information that amounts to vulgar language, and then we will mute the broadcast, and then you can continue just for that part of your testimony, precisely because we want you to share with us the information as it is, but we also have the duty of care for the children and other viewers who are following these proceedings. Then we would like you to conduct yourself with dignity and respect throughout the process. Respect for the commissioners, respect for the commission, the process itself. We also owe you a duty of respect. Okay. So if at any time that you think that we are no longer treating you with respect, please let us know, and we will take corrective action where we need to do so. Then to the observers in the room, as well as the members of the media, let us just remember to refrain from interrupting the proceedings, including by making sure that our mobile phones are either are completely on silent mode or they are switched off. Avoid putting them on vibration, because vibration still produces a sound. And then when you are moving in and outside of the room, please just close the door gently so that you don't interrupt the witness or interrupt our ability to hear clearly what the witness is communicating with us. So those are some of the guidelines and some of the rules that we would like to observe, all of us, including ourselves.
Yeah, sure.
So the way we operate here is not different from the way we have operated when we are interacting with any witness. We take turns to ask you questions. Perhaps I will start today, and then after that other commissioners will come in, or even as I am asking, other commissioners can come in. Is that fine?
Sure.
Okay. If you need to use any other language, and I think in this case it would be Creole.
I will use Creole, yes.
Yes, because I don't think we have a non-Creole interpreter. So if you would like to answer any of the questions in Creole, you are welcome to do so. I just ask that you provide the interpreter with enough time to interpret what you would have said, so that we don't miss anything from what you say. Yeah. So maybe a place that we might want to start is for us to understand your job. Of course, the questions that we are going to be asking you are questions that are directly or indirectly linked to the events of 5 and 6 December that took place at Montagne Posee prison. So, but the starting point for us, I think, is to understand your job. So, what position do you hold in the prison's advisory board?
Okay, I am the chairperson of chairperson advisory board prison.
Okay, you are.
I am the chairperson of the advisory board at the prison.
Okay, and how long have you held this position?
Moi, avec c'est mon deuxième fois de sa position.
It's my second time in that position.
Okay.
Can you just explain what do you mean when you say second time?
Second term,
Second term.
à cause il y a pour 2 ans. Il y a pour une période 2 ans, so il fait mon deuxième fois qu'il m'a appointé.
It's my second term, correction, and the term is for a duration of 2 years, and this is my second one.
Sure.
When you say for a duration of 2 years,
Yes.
who appoints you?
It's the minister who appoints the board.
Maybe let's go back to the duration because so if you say two, let's just put it simple for people who are following the proceedings as well. So when was the first time you were appointed?
April 2022.
April 2022. Okay, so you have served for 2 terms now.
2 terms.
Okay, and each term is 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
2 ans, oui.
2 years. Okay, and you said you are appointed by the minister.
Oui.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I think that is also in terms of the law because the law
Yes.
says the minister is the one that has the authority to appoint you. So can you? And how many people are in the board?
5 on the board.
5 persons on the board.
5 persons on the board. And can you maybe just for us and those public interest also, who are some of the members of this board? Because I don't think I could find it
Yeah.
online.
And il y a professeur à l'Université Cécile.
One is a professor at the University of Seychelles.
Deuxième, il y a un travailleur côté Cable and Wireless.
Second one is a worker at the Cable and Wireless.
And
Maybe you can say their names.
yes, premier qui professeur Michael Hall.
The
Dr.
professor.
Michael Hall, University of Seychelles.
That's the professor's name.
Okay.
Deuxième, est Jude Marie.
The second one,
Jude
Marie.
Marie, Cable and Wireless. Troisième, il y a Iman Rem from Islamic Society, Islamic Community.
The third one is an imam in the Islamic community.
Quatrième, est Margaret
Iman.
Imam
The name.
Rem. Je connais comment Rem. I get the full name. And après, on a Marguerite Francis. Il y a Iman Rem. Marguerite Francis, Dimon Aritre.
And then we have Margaret Francis, who is a
Moment,
retired
Desiree.
person.
Okay. So would we be correct to take the view that this is a team of professionals who come from different backgrounds?
Oui.
Yes.
And the idea is to bring those talents together and then be able to function effectively as a board.
D'après requirement pour gagner apprêter le board, il y a besoin de monde qui a une connaissance about prison.
According to the requirements that are needed to be appointed to the board, it needs to be people that has knowledge with regards to the prison.
Et tout ça, du monde qui m'ont nommé, ils ont une interaction, soit des autres professions ou bien dans volontariat, coup de prison.
And all of these people that I had just mentioned had certain interaction either from their profession or by volunteering to participate in things at the prison.
Can you just tell us your profession? Because you've mentioned the others, Alfred, but you've not mentioned yours.
Mon employé.
I am unemployed.
But before that, you were employed. I know that you were employed at the Ministry of Education.
Mon tigre terminated l'année.
Okay.
I was just terminated this year.
And what was your position at the Ministry of Education?
Director General for Learner Support and Inclusive Education.
So your profession is you're an educationist.
Mon profession, mon training is a human services.
My profession, my training, I have training in human services.
Yeah.
Okay. You had started talking to us about appointments, that you there are certain requirements that are taken into consideration before you are appointed. Can you tell us how the appointment actually takes place? Because that information is not there in the Act, it's not there online. So I'm just wondering, how do you apply? Do you get nominated? What is there an advert? How did you get appointed?
Mon pas connaît qui m'a yé ministre tigay mon nom, mais seulement mon tigay demandé si mon tia content servir le sabord à cause mon gars identifié comme un mon potentiel.
I do not know how the minister got my name, but I was asked to be part of this board because à cause qualité, à cause
à cause moi na potentiel.
Because I have that potential, so that's why I was asked on the board.
So it's the minister that requested you, or rather offered you, and then you accepted.
Accepting, yeah.
And then you served.
Yes.
Okay. And is that the same procedure for the rest of the other
yes.
members? Okay. Now, tell us more about, maybe now you can probably share with us information on what is your actual job as a prison service. Prisons Advisory Board. What is your job?
Mon chair the Public Advisory Board Committee. So, mon lead meetings, visits qui nous fait.
I lead the meetings as well as the visits that we conduct.
The board, il y en a un secrétaire.
The board has a secretary.
Et sa secrétaire, il ramasse mes minutes de mon meeting.
And that secretary is responsible for noting down the minutes of those meetings that we have.
Et aussi comme chairman, nous fait ban meeting avec les autres stakeholders qui sont relevant avec prison, par ICP, the Commission of Prison, some ban welfare officers.
We also have meetings with the stakeholders also, for example, the CP, welfare officers of the prison.
Même avec ministre.
Even with the minister.
Avec ministre, yeah.
Okay. So, would I be correct to say your main role as a board, as a group, as a board, is to advise?
Yeah, as a group, yes.
Is to advise on matters concerning the welfare of the prison community.
Yes.
Okay.
And investigate also any complaint referred by the minister, as well pour faire recommandation, findings, investigations, ou bien les autres recommandations qui concernent welfare inmates.
To make recommendations with regards to these outcomes, and then
aussi welfare ban inmates,
and to look
recommendation for welfare inmates, yeah.
And to make recommendations with regards to the welfare of the inmates.
Okay, so, please.
But do you investigate any, like, if there is any complaints from the prisoners, do you investigate that as well?
Non, il pas pour une côte, non. Il pour aller directement avec son CP ou bien les autres welfare officer.
No, it will not come directly to us. It will go directly to the CP and the welfare officer.
D'après l'article pour PAB dans Prison Act, nous investigate qu'est-ce qui est referred by the minister.
According to the article in PAB, the Prison Act, we are supposed to investigate cases that are referred to us by the minister.
Par exemple, dans Prison Act aussi, nous pas aucun loi qui donne procédure pour un inmate faire est complète et leurs grievances. Mon mazine dans la loi prison d'immeuble éternellement qui occupe les grievances prisonniers.
And in the Prison Act, there is not anywhere that stipulates the procedure that an inmate can do for him or her to submit a complaint. I believe this would be in the law, dans la loi
Prison.
The law of the prison.
Dans d'autres régulations.
In the regulation of the prison, how they are regulated.
Please go ahead.
Mrs. Emmett, have you ever, when you were serving, have you ever received any requests or complaints through letters or through parents that came to you with regards to maybe things that were happening that the prisoners or the parents were unhappy with what was going on?
Non.
So you've never received any complaints?
Pas jamais recevoir aucune complainte.
Never received any complaint.
Okay. So let's just clarify one thing, then we move into because eventually we want to learn more about how you engaged with the incident that happened at Montagne Posee. But before we get there, I just want your mandate, us to be clear on your mandate. So did you say you investigate complaints regarding prison welfare, but only complaints referred to you by the minister? By the minister. This is what the regulation says. Okay. Without maybe going into details at this particular point, I just want to know whether what kind of complaints would be referred to you by the minister. I wouldn't know because we've never received one, but I believe it could be like an inmate complaining about being ill-treated in prison. Yeah, anything that concerns the treatment or the environment itself. Perhaps they are complaining that sanitation is not good or the diet's not good, these sort of things. Okay. Or they are not receiving visits or they are being discriminated against.
Did I get you correctly that you said you never received any complaints through the minister?
Nous pensons que you can complete, refer by ministre pour nous investigate.
We never received any complaints referred to us by the minister to investigate.
Okay. I asked you that question about what kind of complaints would you get from the minister, because I am wondering whether it would be the role of the minister to do, or the minister is actually positioned to be able to receive complaints from inmates and refer them to you. Yeah, but I think we'll get there. We'll get there. But we just wanted to get a broad scope of understanding of your scope of your work, and then we can. Okay, so you never received complaints from the minister. The other job that you do is you make recommendations to the minister on any remedial action. But then if you don't receive complaints, then you can't make any recommendations.
But we seek it out.
We've visited the facilities.
Yeah, but maybe before we go there, so the other job is that you, whether you receive complaint or not, you can proactively advise, and your advice is to the minister.
Yes.
Okay, all right. then yeah.
But when you say you go yourself, you go and visit and all that. But through your visits, you will interact with prisoners.
Of course.
Yeah, and they will voice out to you certain complaints. So
Yeah. For instance, when we visit facilities, they will complain about they're not getting the right food, so on and so forth. And on one specific occasion, we saw the person, that was a person in detention. Elle dit, mon a détention qui t'a manger et nous t'y voir pour dire, il t'a manger. Et manger qui, moi, comme civilier, moi, tu vois, complète, là, il peut manger légumes, son poule, son oui, qui tient une poule.
And there was someone in detention during one of those visits that was eating food, and the food that he was eating, me as a civilian, I would not complain. He was eating his vegetable, his chicken. It was a takeaway.
Mais même ça, après nos visites, nous avons fait une recommandation avec l'autorité prison, nous avons fait un rapport.
But even after that, after the visit, we made our recommendations to the authorities at the prison. We made our report.
À cause que nous avons fait, par exemple, les nous de détention, nous avons un questionnaire avec nous pour nous demander targeted questions.
What we did was that when we go out to those places, we bring with us a questionnaire for us to give out to those people.
Et basé sur la réponse qui nous gagne, nous avons formé l'atmosphère qui les inmates peuvent vivre là-dedans.
And based on the answers that we receive, we can formulate the atmosphere sort of that the inmates were living under.
Et ça permet nous, as un groupe, pour nous faire des recommandations qui sont appropriées avec l'autorité, avec le ministre.
And this allows us as a group to make out the correct or proper recommendations to the minister.
Mais aussi nous servir de façon naturelle, nous cause avec commissionnaire prison.
But we also use the natural way of doing things by talking to the commissioner of prison.
Ou bien sont des gens qui alloqués pour causer que nous par exemple chief inspector, so non ça ban dialogue côté nous les connaît, bah quelque chose qui nous peut voir.
Or the person that is allocated to speak on her behalf, like her chief inspector or his chief inspector, and we discuss these things in particular.
Ou bien sa principal probation officer.
Or the principal commission officer.
Principal probation officer.
Probation officer. Principal probation officer.
Okay. So you undertake visits to the prison.
Oui.
And then that's one of the ways you generate.
Oh, oui.
Yes.
Do you have regular visits that you?
Nous en avons à peu près 5 visites de bonne facilité, mais seulement nous aussi fait nos meetings Montagne Posee côté prison pour nous en sa interaction directe avec les officiers.
But we have had 5 visits to facilities, but we also conducted meeting at Montagne Posee for us to be able to have direct interactions with these individuals.
So these would be 5 visits during your tenure?
Auparavant, nous en avons le temps, comme c'est pour tous les thèmes, nous faisons bonnes visites et nous faisons bonnes recommandations.
For both terms, the 2 terms, we conducted visits and recommendations.
Mais ça,
And
tu
that
l'as
would be the
l'autre
5
board,
visits you said you
But
conducted.
that was another board.
pas même board.
Not the same board.
L'autre dimon, le board.
Other people were on that board.
Yeah.
But you were still the chairperson of that board.
Ça n'était pas le premier board, pas moi qui était chairperson, c'était l'autre dimon.
The
Mama.
first term, I was not the chairperson of the board. There was somebody else.
Là, mon chairperson, c'est un board.
This current board, I am the chairperson of this current one.
Yeah, but I think his question, I would still persist with this question, which is, I just want to know, for example, your first term was from 2022 to 2024, right? How many
2 years.
visits did you?
Well, I don't have the record, but we visited the facilities.
Okay. Then from 2020, maybe because you were not the chair, but then you were now the chair from 2024 to now, how many visits have you?
We've had 5 visits.
Since 2024?
Since 2025, because
since 2025.
Yeah, our appointment in 2024. I think there was a delay in our appointment in 2024. So we had a visit in Montagne Posee on the 16th of January 2025.
Okay.
Youth Offenders Facility on Prale on 13th February 2025. The Remand Center Perseverance, 13th March 2025. Detention Center Bois de Rose, 22nd May 2025. And Montagne Posee Female Prison in July this year.
Okay. So January 2025, you visited Montagne Posee Prison.
January 2025, we went to Montagne Posee, yes, in the female prison because we did not get access to the male prison.
Why?
At that time, there was still what we were informed. The situation was not settled, and there were police being involved with the prison and administration, and we could not enter the prison.
Okay, so maybe I think that's a good place for me to hand you over to Commissioner Bidot to ask some questions I think that are directly linked to that visit.
So in 2025, you say you went to the prison, but you were not allowed access to the male block.
Oui, à ça, l'intervalle, de Titino, il paye bon les temps et
At that time, they said that it was not a good time for us.
et les temps ne sont pas encore température aussi. Nous tu vois pour dire il y en a une quantité de tension.
When we took into account the temperature, symbolically speaking, we found out that there was a lot of tension.
Et nous partis pousser pour nous entrer dans le main block.
So we did not push for us to be able to enter inside the male block.
So you were not able to make an assessment as to the actual situation within the male block.
Oui, nous n'avons pas fait un assessment as un comité à cause nous pas là-bas pour nous interacter.
We could not conduct an assessment as a committee because we did not go there to interact.
Mais seulement nous avons un meeting avec nous avons un board meeting le 12 décembre quand nous tiens quoi qui m'a type handle sa situation.
But we had a board meeting on the 12th of December whereby we inquired about how they were handling that situation.
À cause nous avons visé un rôle là-dedans aussi.
Because we wanted to have a role to play in that as well.
Et nous avons informé par l'autorité prison qui était déjà en l'investigation la police.
And we were informed by the prison authority that there was already investigation of the police being conducted in the matter.
So nous avons donné la police l'espace pour faire l'investigation.
So we gave the police their space for them to be able to conduct their investigation.
But you do realize that your mandate is different from that of the police. Your mandate
Oui.
is to go to the prison, and even if the rule says that you have to get the complaints from the minister, which in this case, an event happening at the prison, the minister never gave you any complaint.
Non, nous pas gagné complainte, mais seulement aussi nous pas gagné ça l'autorisation pour nous entrer pour le côté médecin.
We did not get the complaint, but neither did we get the authorization to enter where the inmates were.
And honnêtement, tension ti vraiment même si nous avons dit en dehors, nous pas là les temps, sa situation arrivée, mais ça 2-3 jours après, ou tu senti encore ça tension dans l'air à cause de la façon qui ban inmates a causé d'autres comportements as well.
Honestly, even if we were not there when the incident happened, we came after, but even afterwards, there was still the amount of tension was quite high because we could discern that from the way the inmates were talking, the types of conversation they were having.
Et ça type un risque aussi pour nous dans sa main bloc.
And that would have been a risk for us also to enter into that mail block.
I do appreciate that. You wouldn't want to take that risk to enter the mail block. But you were not able, with that denial, that impossibility for you to go to the mail block, you were not able to fully appreciate the situation that existed then at the prison.
Non, nous pas capables entièrement apprécier sa situation, l'information qui nous gagnait, et plus ou moins ça qui médias présenté, aussi interaction avec staff qui nous en a là-bas.
No, we could not entirely appreciate the situation. The information that we received were mostly from the media and from the staffs.
And earlier you said that even the inmates, they were agitated at this point in time. They were saying certain things. But you have to make me understand, because if you didn't go into the mail block, how did you have access to these inmates who were talking in a certain manner or were saying certain things?
Attendez, dans l'office, partout, on est capable d'entendre sa débris et ban inmates qui dans l'allée, en l'air, quand on entre, quelque chose qui peut dire as well.
We could hear in the office everywhere the noise that was coming from all of that, and even from the inmates that was up there in the field.
Tu sens petit encore sa resentment, sa la colère là.
You could feel that there was still that resentment and anger that was still there.
Was it an anger because of the incident that happened at the prison on the 5th and the 6th of December?
Mon mazine, il est mélange à cause.
I would think it's a mix.
Vous connaissez les temps où on regarde ça bâtiment lui-même. Il est un bâtiment qui invite, il instigue l'atmosphère tensionnée.
If you would look at the building itself, it's a building that sort of instigates an atmosphere of
Atmosphère, oui. Tensionnée.
With tension.
Dimoniga heard the band gaga l'espace as a group.
People are kept in large spaces as a group.
And même si vous êtes inmate ou besoin en un seul espace aussi qui est assez personnel à cause dans un centre correction. So
even as an inmate, you need to have a space, amount of space for yourself, even in a detention facility.
Ou dans un centre correction.
Correct.
Ou besoin de l'espace aussi pour en sa réflexion, en sa faire sa self-reflection et peut-être adhérer avec l'aide qu'on peut gagner pour y faire la vie. So, pour exemple, il donne aux autres l'opportunité et il crée frustration beaucoup.
You need that space for you to be able to reflect on yourself and to be able to reform yourself, and without that space, that creates the tension that I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm. I do agree with you that the prison, the way it is built, is not convenient for the purposes you are now stating. So you were aware that there were a lot of frustration within the prison?
Des fois, que nous avons visité la prison, là, tout le temps, les prisonniers disent, par exemple, nous ne pouvons pas traiter comme des gens,
The 2 times that we visited the prison, every time the prisoners has stated that we are not treated like human beings.
L'autorité est incompétente, les autres pas traités bien.
The authorities are incompetent, they are not well treated.
And l'État nous demande une question targetée, par exemple, pour donner un exemple spécifique.
And when we ask for targeted questions, like for them to state the specific examples.
Et il n'y a pas raison spécifique. Il y en a une terminologie, ban bouge, ban Babylone. Il n'y a pas l'explication pour dire qui manière ou pas traité bien.
There's no specific reason or explanation to state as to why or how they are not being treated properly. They would just say things like, these people are Babylon, stuff like that, terminologies like that.
But were you able to gauge whether the rights, the human rights, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, were being infringed upon?
Note qu'il y a une question spécifique qui vient à nous l'attention. Qui peut dire, il y a inmates qui pas peuvent manger, n'a pas la droit dormir, ou bien ils peuvent battre. Il n'a pas ça, nous pas gagné sa bonne qualité d'observation.
Was brought to our attention about inmates not eating properly, not being treated properly, or getting water. None of these things that has been observed.
Quelquefois, l'aspect quantité initiative pour réhabilitation qui forme partie des droits pour les autres, like reconnecter avec la société.
Maybe on the aspect of rehabilitation, that is part of their right for them to be able to reconnect with society.
Pour les autres, on a l'appartenance, le côté, il y en a beaucoup d'efforts qui besoin de faire et ça il y a un effort national, il n'y a pas des efforts pour les autres.
And on this aspect, there needs to be a lot of effort that is being put in that aspect by us, not just only by the prison authority.
Knowing that what has happened on the 5th and the 6th, okay, and you went to the prison, you were not allowed access, understandably, to the mail block. But were you able to make any recommendations to the minister?
The recommended, nous fait une recommandation avec le ministre et ça est basé le bon aspect prévention.
We make some recommendations to the minister, and these are based on the aspect of prevention.
À cause avec previous administration, nous fait beaucoup de discussions le enhancement sécurité prison.
And with the previous administration, we had a lot of discussion with the enhancement of the prison security, the security of the prison.
Et previous commissionnaire était partage son plan stratégique avec board.
And the previous commissioner shared with the board his strategic plan.
Yeah. Et la tient dans la station qui prend en compte la discussion que nous fait avec lui à cause des ans à target qu'ils ont établi. And
on that there was the adjustment that she took into consideration based on matters that we presented to her.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe before you continue, I would like maybe to go back to his question about the recommendations you made to the minister. So your answer was yes, we made some recommendations to the minister. Let's leave out what the commissioner proposed in the strategic plan. Let's focus a bit more on the recommendations you made to the minister as a board. So you said one of them is enhancement of prison security, right? So can you tell us more, can you tell us more about the recommendations you made? So apart from recommending that the prison security system must be enhanced, what else did you recommend?
Nous recommandons que staff ait the appropriate training.
We recommended that the staff receives appropriate training.
À cause de besoin on a fait early identification l'étant ban si bonnet pour connaître l'état il y en a quelque chose qui peut mal.
Because they need to be able to identify early signs for them to know when things are going in a wrong direction.
Nous te demandé qu'il y en a caméra de ban endroit spécifique.
We ask that they put cameras in specific areas.
Et aussi ban screening equipment dans la rentrée prison.
And screening equipments in the entrance of the prison.
Servant drone.
Use drones.
Et aussi human resource, pour augmenter human resource.
And to increase the human resource numbers.
Avec tout ça là, previous CP, tu peux téléphone pour dire il y a quelque chose qui est en considération.
With all of that, the previous CP let us know that these are things that were under consideration.
Et ici même, amène un monde qui peut aider au travail, les autres technologies.
And she even brought someone that was helping them to work on their technology.
That's fine. So basically, you recommended that they must enhance the prison security, and you must enhance training, because cameras and others, they are part of security. Do you have a copy of those recommendations?
I can make provision for the commissioner. So this is my draft. So I'll make sure that for this one and the previous one.
Is that the draft of the recommendations you made?
That's that's my copy. That is not the final one. I have to print one for.
Okay, I think let me clarify my question. So my question is, do you have a draft that describes all these recommendations that you made to the minister, which you actually sent officially to the minister?
Nous submit nos recommandations avec ministre.
We submitted our recommendations to the minister.
Yeah, and nous après soumission nos recommandations avec ministre, nous déjà rencontré lui as well.
And after submitting our recommendations to the minister, we met with the minister as well.
Yeah, maybe before we go there, I just wanted us to be on the same page as to whether there is a copy of a document.
We have copy.
You have
there
it.
Are.
Not here to give to hand over, but I can make provision for you to have a copy.
Okay. Maybe the secretary can note that, because we would like a copy that actually was received and as a government document.
Yeah.
Not what you generated.
Yes.
You want the one that you gave to the minister.
So we have to request. Okay.
Or is there some way where we can get that copy?
Minister Secretariat.
But
we can
you as a body,
we can obtain. Yes, I can email a copy to Ms. Albes.
Okay.
Okay. And this recommendation that you said you made to the minister, was that done during your tenure as a simple member or as your tenure as the chairperson of the
Both. It's there are similarities, but during both terms we've done that.
So what you are telling this commission is that you formally made these recommendations and you saw that these recommendations were not being met. So you had to reiterate that these recommendations should be met.
A few of them, yes. The overcrowdedness, for instance, is a major recommendation, and for detention center as well as for female prison and the main prison. This in itself is an invitation to chaos, the overcrowdedness of the prison. So this was a very strong recommendation, because with that there's hygiene as well, and yeah.
Perhaps a follow-up question also is still on the recommendations. You mentioned that in one of your visits, there were complaints that were made by some of the inmates, allegations of abuses, right? But then you said the inmates who were complaining were not able to give you specifics, right? Did in any of your recommendations to the minister, did you have any recommendation that sought to find out if something untoward was happening inside prison which needed to be investigated? Because a lot of these inmates are coming to you and they're complaining, but they're not giving you specifics.
Nous pas petit quantité inmate in vin low code board le base individu.
We are not saying that a lot of inmates have come to the board on an individual basis.
Mais l'étant ou entrer de prison ban inmates y a Posee pour causer.
But when you enter inside the prison, the inmates approaches and speaks.
And il y a quelque chose qui nous prend en compte et nous inclut dans les recommandations qu'il nous fait. Par exemple, si je fais
There are things that we take into account and include in our recommendations. For example,
si je peux faire complète le hygiene et nous si nous avons cette question de hygiene, nous faisons recommandations.
if they are complaining about hygiene and we ourselves have seen things pertaining to hygiene, then we make those recommendations.
Circulation l'air, par exemple, n'a pas bonne circulation l'air.
Air circulation, for example, there's no good circulation of air.
So, il y a quelque chose pareil qui nous amène à l'attention.
These are things that we put into the attention.
Aussi, par exemple, ban qui complète, qui n'ont pas de sens pour le travail dehors.
And for example, others that complains about the fact that they do not get the chance for them to go outside to work.
Et ils ont besoin d'argent pour payer ban dette légale qu'ils ont droit.
They need the money for them to be able to clear the legal debts that they have.
Los autres behalf, nous discuter avec management prison pour nous ensemble, nous brainstorm pour voir qui ban les autres façons qui plus du monde il a gagné kali mais il y a une autre régulation.
On their behalf, we discuss with the management of the prison to see different ways by which they can be included in these things, but of course there are regulations.
Madam Amit, what I wanted to just try and understand, yeah? You've spoken about a lot of administrative issues. Example, issues pertaining to the design of the prison itself, which in one way was giving lots of problems with regards to a proper functioning. All of those issues that you have talked about, they are not new. All the previous authorities, they know this. So even trying to bring this to them would solve no problems. Yeah? Now what I'm coming to is, you see, information received that in the past there were prison advisory boards that requested by themselves with a timetable to visit the prisons. That was without knowledge. Well, it was with knowledge of the minister or the prison authorities, but there was a program. Yeah. So when the prison advisory board came for the visit, they were given the liberty to meet with prisoners, prison staff, and others that were there in order to gather whatever information that they requested to, in order to write a proper report. Are you telling me that this you were not having?
Dans certaines visites, nous n'avons pas eu aucun obstacle.
In certain visits, there were no obstacles.
Nous sommes libres pour nous entrer à la cellule in
we were free for us to be able to enter inside the different cells where the inmates were.
Même première visite dans main prison aussi nous étions libres.
Even the first visit in the main prison, we were free.
Et juste après l'incident, qui en a sa précaution pour pas dans main prison. Mais seulement, nous n'avons pas aucun démon prison qui empêche nous causer, empêche nous regarder, empêche nous fouiller, n'a pas.
But it was only after the incident that precautions were taken for us to be able for us not to enter inside the main prison. But there is no one from the prison that is preventing us from asking questions and doing what we were doing.
So obviously, during those visits, you picked up or you received a lot of complaints.
We pick up and we receive, and there was one case where a prisoner complained about his sentencing, life sentence. Un prisonnier qui complète son life sentence, qui te dit, il senti pour dire, il n'en a, elle a bien le côté la cour.
A prisoner complained about his life sentence, whereby he said that he felt that there was an abuse on the court side.
Il est venu en base NAN.
He came on an
one-on-one basis.
One-on-one basis.
Et nous te demandons pour lui mettre son complète en écrit.
And we asked him for him to put his complaint in writing.
Et de sa façon qui nous est capable ou de façon pour intervenir là-dedans.
It was in that way that we could find a way to intervene in the matter.
Et CP aussi tu dis il t'advise mettre en écrit, faire des formules.
And the CP also advised him to put it in writing to make it formal.
Il t'explique les causes, c'est-à-dire qu'on est pour dire nous pas capable d'avoir pour cause au behalf en a ça quelque chose après. Les autres disent on va faire si pour pas en écrit pour.
And that was explained to him why that was required, because they would need to go to people to get the support, and then for him to make everything in writing.
Mais il parti faire la documentation.
But that documentation was never done by him.
So is this an inmate qui vient voir board, il demande pour voir board, mais l'arrestant non gagne interaction avec les autres, l'état non fait bonne visite.
So there was just one inmate that asked to see the board, but the others, we had interactions with them when we conducted those visits.
Okay. Now, you gathered all the information that you requested with all the problems, where you want to call them. Obviously, you made copies. One directed to the Commissioner of Prisons, one going to the Minister. How did you review? What procedures were there for you to review all those issues that you had brought forward to the Commissioner of Prisons and to the Minister? Were you informed of anything that happened after that?
Pour sa raison qui nous fait meeting aussi en les Montagne Posee prison.
It's for that reason also that we conduct meeting at Montagne Posee prison.
Pour nous faire follow-up, savoir quelque chose, c'est tout côté concerne sécurité.
For us to follow up on these things, especially with matters concerning security.
À cause, et nous l'observons, c'est qu'il y a une quantité, non pas directement une voix, mais seulement beaucoup rapport drug trafficking de prison.
Because from one thing we observed, not directly, but there are a lot of drug trafficking.
Et dans le travail qui m'a fait auparavant, ça bonne information des fois il vient avec des dit on peut causer avec au téléphone il sonne et joue m'a prend un téléphone et autant ça colle pour te demander quoi ça
et these information from the works I conducted before would come in by when someone would be talking to you and the phone would ring.
À cause
téléphone sonne.
Oui, je prends pour entendre sa conversation qu'il y a quelque chose qui peut passer qui pas bien.
They would pick up the phone when the phone would ring, and they would you would hear the conversation that would be going on about these transactions.
Ako pou di, sa papa mon piti ki Montagne Posee, ki nou pa ko wali, nou pe fè visite, se mai pape kompran pou di ou kompran konversasyon.
And they would say something like, this is the father of my child that I had not yet seen him, as at Montagne Posee, and thinking that you did not understand what was going on.
E osi tena di mon ki pe servi mamay l'ekol pou ala maslazan.
And there were people using children from school for them to go pick up money from them.
Sa ban kesos ki gen rapporte avek l'autorite konserne.
And these are things that are reported to the concerned authority.
Alors, sa issue drug de prison sa l'intervalle, tient ban major issue.
Therefore, the drug issue at the prison during those times was a major issue.
Et par exemple, tant nous tu vois ban drain qui bloqué, étant nous tenons un dit avec background à santé, le previous board, and était vraiment on the lookout pour ça ça fait l'hygiène, et nous tu découvert pour dire ban drain, il gagne servi pour ban quelque chose qui pas correct, comprends?
So, for example, there were drains that were blocked, and we had someone that had a background in health, whereby he, from the previous board, he would be on the lookout for these things, and we found out that these drains, saban drains,
avec quelque chose qui pas dépasse les drains.
These drains were blocked by things that were not supposed to be in a drain.
What are these
I would
things?
not say the details.
What are these things you're talking about?
Ou pas capable figure out à cause il a drain complètement. Vous comprenez? C'est du overflow. Mais seulement après nous ou pick up pour dire il capable dans téléphone ou bien autre mettre quelque chose qui peut empêcher de l'eau sortir là-dedans.
And you cannot really exactly discern what it was, but for example, the drain would be blocked with, for example, things that we would think probably might be phones or other things that they would put in there that would cause it to overflow in time.
But these would be mere assumptions because you've never seen anything as to what these things would be.
It's true.
Il capable dire il y a assumptions, mais seulement
You can say assumptions, but
moi quand je suis capable de dire des fois il y a des assumptions qui correct, mais c'est moment pas pour aller à l'aspect comme ça. Pour sa raison qui nous fait mettre beaucoup l'emphase pour d'autres step up le côté screening of du monde qui vient as well as increase of the personnel qui peut travailler under the prison.
So I would not go on that line, but there are certain assumptions that are correct. But that is why we emphasized a lot on screening individuals that would enter inside the prison and to increase the security also.
But the prison authorities, once they knew that there were certain things that you said were being kept in the drain, was it not their duty to investigate what it was, at least come up with something before making any assumptions?
Well, you are right, and l'investigation, even avec pour le foyer, nous sommes surprised pour voir quantité inmates avec sa petite garde under the prison.
Yes, you are right, and the investigation would be their responsibility for them to go and investigate, and we were surprised also to find the little amount of prison guard with the amount of inmate inside the prison. So,
is this tout ça ban manquement là, il occasionne ban problème opportunistique de prison.
All of these lapses, things that they were lacked in, would create opportunities for these sorts of things inside the prison.
Pour sa raison, tu mets en phase le training avec increase dans human resource.
That's why we emphasize the on training and increase in human resource.
Okay, Madam Amy. You see, when I listen to you, I can understand why this prison board that was established by the minister, whereby you were never given any specific calls to investigate at the prison, as you said. The board, to my understanding, was sort of helping the system, helping the government in trying to sort out its problems. On the contrary to the prison board trying to see or establish what the prisoners were facing inside the prison. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Everything that you've explained about security, you've explained about the toilet facilities, you've explained about everything, but we haven't heard anything about the difficulties that the prisoners themselves were facing as individuals coming to you and expressing their frustration and their problems that they were facing. If you can just tell us a little bit.
Mon papa a créé, inventé pour dire prisonniers in venir pour faire ban complète dans l'année par UPD.
I would not create or invent the fact that prisoners would come and report things in the line that you are saying.
Mais seulement à chaque fois que nous allons ban visite, quand nous gagne sa ban interaction, quand nous senti pour dire un mécontentement.
But each time we went on those visits whereby we had these interactions and felt that there was discontent,
nous directement adresse avec des gens qui sont responsables dans salaire spécifique.
We directly addressed it to these individuals that was responsible for those particular places.
Avant même qu'ils nous fait recommandation pour le code ministre. So
Even
nous directement demander qui gagne rectification, mais c'est moi pas you peut dire moi. C'est un problème il a pour étaler temps.
Even before we make recommendations to the minister, so we directly demand that these things are rectified. But as you stated, these things have been there for quite some time.
Par exemple, si vous pouvez des prisonniers besoin un programme de réhabilitation qui est solide, regarde l'éducation à cause certains autres, ils ratent les autres l'éducation.
For example, if you would say that the prisoners needs a rehabilitation program that is solid because some of them did not do well in terms of education, they have missed out.
Il y a une insistance contre sa board et Kabali.
There is only a certain distance that board in particular can do.
Par exemple, là, récemment, nous avons fait un MOU à cause d'un meeting avec SIDOL pour prisonniers capables de continuer l'étude pour les autres gagner sa réformation.
For example, we drafted an MOU with the CIDOL for the prisoners to be able to carry on with their studies.
Et ça, MOU, nous pour faire discussion avec minister là in August.
And that MOU, we are going to discuss it with the minister in August.
Pour nous regarder l'éducation en général de prison.
For us to look at the education in general in the prison.
À cause j'ai besoin on a un purposeful life, de pas rester idle la journée entière.
Because they need to have a purposeful life, they cannot remain idle a whole day.
Et ça y est, il fait recommandation pour un vocational training as well pour eux.
That includes recommendations for them to have vocational trainings as well.
Et SIDOL, il s'agit l'organisation qui vient on board pour eux assister prison de cette area.
And CIDOL is the organization that came forward to assist the prison in that regard.
So, il y en a certaines choses qui board est capable proactive pour faire pour adresser une recommandation, mais c'est une recommandation et bien l'administration lui-même qui a adressé.
So there are certain things that the board can do themselves to address certain recommendations, but there are some that it needs to be put through by the administration.
À cause, par exemple, financier, il y a une limitation.
Because
si
if, for
il y a
example,
limitation.
Finance is a limitation.
Board est capable de demander qu'il y ait plus budget.
The board can ask that we get a larger budget,
contrôle là.
but we do not have control on that.
Yeah. Before we go to limitations, and before I know that Commissioner Vidot wants to lead us into the different ways in which you engaged with the incident of 5 and 6. Before we go there, I want us to do justice to his question. and his observation, because that's also the observation I'm having. And I'm wondering whether it's because of the way you are answering the questions, or maybe there's something. The issue here is this. I'm hearing you talking about rehabilitation. I'm hearing you talking about security in the prisons. And I can clearly see where rehabilitation and security, how they interlink with welfare. But let us remember that your primary duty as a board is to address issues of welfare, not security, not rehabilitation. It's welfare. And I think we're not getting much on that. So that's, I think, the observation he was making, and I can also say that's how I am perceiving what is going on here. So I would like you to focus more on welfare. I'm saying this because when I look at the instrument under which you are appointed, it says in section 36.2, the members of the Prison Advisory Board shall be persons who, in the opinion of the minister, are knowledgeable in prison welfare.
Yeah.
Right. So we understand how rehabilitation, security can interlink with, but really the crux of the matter here is the conditions under which the inmates are living. So that's let's talk more about how you, first the issues you observed and how you tried to deal with those issues. So maybe, and I also understand that when you went to the prison in January 2025 at Montagne, Posee, you were not able to get in because you said the temperatures were high, there was tension. So we understand that. But now we are talking about the period before that, when you said you managed to get in and interact with inmates. So I want you to speak to their welfare, right? So in a way that we would be able to understand how you appreciated the situation. So maybe I can ask some few specific questions that can probably help you to speak to. So number one, when you went, take us to the last time you visited Montagne Posee prison, the last time before 5 December 2024. Who did you meet apart from the Commissioner of Prisons and the prisons? I mean, and the inmates and the wards. Are these the only people you met?
Mon papa capable recall bien avant 2025.
I cannot really recall properly before 2025.
Mais seulement l'effet qui tient un nouveau l'administration en 2024.
But since there was a new administration in 2024,
c'est important qu'il bon tienne avec nouveau l'administration.
It was important that the board meets up with the new administration.
Pour justement gagner son plan. Plan nouveau l'administration, le qui m'a peut bouger en avant.
To get the plan of the new administration about how they were moving forward.
So, et ça tient que les questions qui concernent welfare ban inmates.
And that included the question about the welfare of the inmates.
And crois-moi bien que sécurité est vraiment forme partie welfare et welfare basic pour ban inmate.
And believe me that the security is a part of the welfare and something that the inmate needs.
À cause, par exemple, quand nous visitons main prison, quand nous entrons dortoir.
For example, when we visited the main prison, when we entered inside where they sleep.
Quand nous voyons par un slam.
And we saw that it was like a slump.
La quantité quelque chose qui ban inmates yana, qui ont pay hard,
The amount of things that the inmates were hoarding
qui it pose un problème pour leur bien-être.
and that poses a problem for their well-being.
Par exemple, nous ti raise up issue que vous dormi, vous dortoir, il y en a à peu près 4 banques, nos camarades.
For example, we raised up issues about the fact that where they were sleeping, there were 4 bunk beds on top of each other.
Zot lili, quand ils servent pour un shelf en même temps, un lili avec 4 quelque chose, linge, pas de partout, il concerne zot welfare et sécurité prison.
The bed was used as bed and as shelves as well. There were a lot of clothes hanging everywhere. It was a security issue for themselves and the prison.
Quand ils ne mettent pas en cas avec son assemblée, son toilette qui dit à côté de l'assemblée là.
Whereby the inmates do not take care of their toilets and bathroom, which is just where they sleep.
So, il y a quelque chose qui nous a adressé avec l'autorité prison.
And these are things that we had addressed with the authorities of the
Ou
prison.
bien quand il y a une inmate qui a plus pouvoir que son camarade, qui bully son camarade de
Or
prison.
whereby certain inmates have more power than other inmates, whereby they bully other inmates.
Okay. So any inmates ever came to you or to the board to say that that he's being bullied by other inmates?
Et pas pour un service à moi, mon pégan bully par other inmates, mais c'est moi, les temps où entrer dans le dortoir ou quelque chose qui a écrit, par exemple, un gadget, l'équipement qu'ils ont fait eux-mêmes, homemade, pour faire l'exercice qui dit passes au maman, et les temps où peut cause avec bandi moun à cause ça là, à cause ça a écrit comme ça. Quand un inmate va dire, oh, ça pointe, n'a pas droit à tout ça à cause ça dit mon nom il fait du bruit avec nous ici c'est là. So il fait comprendre un petit peu sa dynamique dans d'autres relations. Ça ici c'est l'exemple.
We did not really see, or people did not come to us and report directly that they were getting bullied. But for example, we would enter inside a cell. We would find an electronic equipment
homemade exercise equipment, yeah.
Exercise equipment belonging to someone, an individual, and we would see something written on it like "Do not sit on your mother." And we would ask about what is this for, and that person would explain to us that this belongs to so and so, that this person do not allow anyone else to use that particular equipment, or they would get into trouble with him.
The reason why I asked you that question is because earlier on you said that when you saw the inmates, they complained, but they didn't give you specific instances of where their rights are being abused.
No.
So what you are giving us now is situations where you feel that rights are being abused. So even if the inmates will not give you specificities as to what rights are being abused, so wouldn't you investigate further to find out, rather than just leave it there and say, oh, they just told us that and that's it?
Non. Nous tenons une conversation pour nous gagner l'information en plus.
We hold conversations with them to receive further information from them.
Mais ou pas quelque chose qui peut donner une substance pour dire définitivement il y en a quelque chose qui grave là qu'il peut expériencer.
But you do not receive substantive information from that individual that would allow you to know and determine that yes, there are something bad that is happening there.
Mais c'est moi, il y a un concern qui nous adresse de façon spécifique avec l'autorité prison pour les connaître, pour dire ça est un signe côté capable en Afrique qu'ils ont même pas qu'on n'a pas assez staff là-bas.
Concerns that we address to the authorities of the prison to make them know that these are signs that they need to be aware that there are no limited amount of security officers inside of those cells there.
So would you say that the living conditions of the prisoners is compatible with human dignity?
Non, il n'est pas compatible à tout.
No, it's not compatible at all.
mon grandi dans côté prison. Moi l'enfance, moi l'adolescence, mon côté prison.
I grew up my adolescence, childhood at a prison.
So mon connaît qui m'a est prison il run.
So I know how a prison is run.
And à comment tu fréquentes la prison et son building les mêmes qui commande sa discipline et sa l'ordre et bien-être prisonnier.
Because I frequented the prison area because the building in itself there needs to be order and stability.
Par exemple, dans celle où tu as des gens qui doivent aller vers nos populations aussi Tiba. Tu as des gens qui dorment dans celle.
For example, during those times, the population was still very low. There was 2 people in one cell.
Et celle qui vraiment airy.
And there was a lot of air circulation.
Inmates dans uniforme qu'ils ont metté.
Inmates was wearing uniforms.
C'est facile pour un garde faire spot check, vérifier aucun quelque chose d'azéré qu'il y en a dans une bonne celle.
It was easy for an officer to conduct spot check and to search for anything dangerous in their cells.
Et tu as un espace pour eux que tu es capable faire sa tranquillité dans la tête pour faire réflexion dans la vie as well.
A space for themselves personally for them to be able to do their own reflection.
Et tu as un yard en dedans dans le milieu de prison que tu es capable aussi sortir dans le milieu yard pour prendre soleil, pour faire l'exercice.
And there was a yard inside in the middle of the prison whereby they could exit into for them to get sunlight and do exercises.
So in a way, tu as quelque chose pour comparer avec.
So in a way, there were things to compare it to.
Because honestly, it's insane pour inmate dormir pareil, je dormi.
Honestly, it is insane for the inmates to be sleeping the way they are.
Même dans le detention center Bois Rose.
Even at the detention center at Bois Rose.
Il y en a danger pour un rideau en pendant. Pas besoin d'un rideau là-dedans.
There is a danger to hanging a curtain. You do not need a curtain inside.
Là pour vraiment spécifique raison. Mais c'est quand la doit il cram and tout le monde est le camarade. Définitivement, ou l'hygiène il y a un compromise.
Cramped up places whereby everybody is like in a way on top of each other. The hygiene is compromised.
Personal space is compromised. O personal space is compromised.
Yes.
It's compromised.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. And il estig il tourmente l'esprit.
And that, in a sense, torments the brain.
So, ça riot qui n'arrivait, dans mon opinion, il pas devait garder dans l'isolation.
The riot that had happened, in my opinion, should not be looked at in isolation.
Ça qui n'arrivait, mon imagine, il vient par dire, icing, l'eau situation qui y a pas bruit tout le temps.
What happened, in my opinion, is like icing on a situation that was boiling up every now and then.
And because those are human rights, so design infringe those are human rights.
And if you are referring to human rights, it had infringed on their human rights.
Et là,
but their treatment as well. Would you would agree with me that even the treatment that they get at the prison infringes on some of the basic human rights?
Mon imagine pour venir à cause.
I would think so. Yes.
À cause ou ban occupant à l'endroit, il ban du monde qui fait l'offense.
Because people that are occupying that space or that area are people that did offenses.
One minute, like when you say offenses, you mean criminal offenses.
Oui,
but there are inmates who are in prison for civil offenses.
Oui, comme c'est une offense qu'il a commis, il y a un breach of la loi qui est arrivé.
There's an offense or a breach of the law that has happened.
Ils ont tracassé, ils ont dit qu'ils ont l'esprit tracassé.
There are people that they are worried, they're troubled.
Ils ont les autres émotions, encore.
And they have other emotions as well.
Et si par exemple ils sont overcrowded dans l'endroit, ils n'ont pas besoin de service qui pour aider les autres pour capable come to terms avec cette situation.
And if they are in an overcrowded places, they will never be able to get the services required for them to be able to deal with their situation.
The one thing I was saying civil offenses, because you're at the prison, you have people maybe who've not paid child maintenance, and they are sent to prison.
Yeah.
In that sense, would you agree with me that they should not be at the prison?
In fact, une bonne recommandation qu'ils nous fait, nous demandé qu'il y ait une alternative sentencing. Et nous donne la liste quelquefois une idée qui est considérée.
One of the recommendations that was put through was that there was
alternative sentencing.
Alternative sentences. We provided them with a list.
À cause nous reconnaître pour dire il y en a l'offense qui voyez pas nécessairement pour dire on est besoin d'entrer dans la prison.
Because we recognize that there were offenses that does not necessarily require someone to be sent to prison.
Zot carga sentence mais seulement zot fait dans un endroit en bas conditions qui en dehors prison.
They can serve their sentence but in an area that is outside that of the prison itself.
Surtout sa grande population qui en a là-bas avec capacité à l'endroit.
Especially the large amount of population that we have there at the prison and the capacity of that area itself.
So, il y a une proposition qui est en discuter avec le ministre in agréé et nous, si nous avons besoin jouer un rôle pour aider, voir qui ban les autres alternative sentencing strategies qui ont mis en place.
And that was a proposition that when put to the minister, he agreed, and we also ourselves need to find out all the alternative sentencing.
So, conditions vives, c'est pas bien, it compromise two human rights.
So the condition also, if it was not good, it compromised the whole human rights.
Have you ever had an interaction with the prison doctor?
Non, je n'ai pas jamais interacté avec lui.
No, I never interacted with him.
Non.
No.
Okay. Because as you know, the doctor at the prison has certain duties, especially to do with welfare of the inmates. He has to check on the food that is provided. Even because the inmates are complaining, the water is contaminated, and so you've never heard any of those from?
Non, non plutôt non interacté avec bandimon da welfare.
No, we interacted with people in the welfare department.
Mm-hmm.
And from the welfare department, I see that there are no psychologists there, or am I wrong to think that there are no psychologists at the prison?
Quelquefois, tout papier travail dans autres positions, comme un provisional psychologist ou bien un psychologist. Mais seulement, to my knowledge, il y en a des timons, des staff qui y en a background, tout en a degré de psychology.
No, maybe they are not working in that position.
And you have a first degree and you have a master's degree.
As provisional or psychologist, but I know, to my knowledge, that there are two staff with a background in psychology. One has a degree, I think.
Yeah.
But what kind of work are they doing there?
Un petit moment après, les welfare officer in Gaia aussi train dans School for Social Work.
And then the welfare officer has been on training with the School for Social Work.
So, collectivement, connaissance qui m'a pour adresser mon concern.
So they collectively have knowledge on how to address concerns.
So, un ça dit qui a son first degree dans psychologie et peut travailler avec probation basé en là-bas.
One of these individuals that have their first degree in psychology is working with the probation over there.
And l'autre, je ne sais pas exactement qui son position, mais seulement moi quoi spécialisé dans forensic psychology.
The other one, I do not know exactly that person's position, but specializes in forensic psychology.
That's not the police officer, because there's a police officer who does that.
No.
No, he's not the police officer. No. You had questions?
I think where I wanted to ask a follow-up question on it's about the doctor. Can you remind us again why you never met the doctor?
Honestly, A very good question. Nou pan zame mazine a cause nou pan why docteur.
I don't really know why we did not see the doctor.
Mais seulement d'après mes board nous t'al visite clinique côte prison.
But during the period of the first board, we went to visit the clinic at the prison.
Et ça n'était valtene nurse là nous interacté avec sa nurse.
And during that time, there was a nurse there that we interacted with.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just that we have to manage the time for the hearing, so that's why sometimes I have to stop you at some point. I think you should have met the doctor because that's part of the welfare of understanding the welfare of the inmates. And perhaps that is maybe where you would have gotten some of the information we got about problems to do with water, problems to do with food. But then I just want to also understand your perspective as a member of the board. Do you think that everyone that is in prison, is someone who is behaving badly inside prison?
No, I don't think so. I believe when we've had interaction with them, there are inmates who are calm. They are calm, and in fact they are. Il y en a inmates qui vraiment calme et on peut voir autres comme si ils n'ont pas fit in avec certains groupes de prison.
There are inmates that are really calm, and you could see that they do not fit in properly with the other inmates in the prison.
Et ça, ils ont l'occupation et ils ont qui gagnent sens pour eux à travailler dehors as well.
They have occupations, and they get the chance for them to be able to go outside for work.
Okay. And then maybe lastly for me for now is you mentioned that sometimes when you would talk to prison inmates, they would complain that they are being abused, but then they don't go into specifics. Do you think, in your view, and I'm not talking of you as a person, I'm talking about the institution that you head of, do you think there's a relationship of trust between the inmates and the prison advisory board? As in, do you think that the prison inmates actually trust you, that they can be able to tell you about their living conditions?
Mon pap ka di si zot trust nou or not, a cause aucun zot pan approach nou as a board pou zot amene complete devan.
I cannot say whether or not they trust me because none of them has approached us as a board to bring forward any complaints.
A cause le tan nou al visit zot nou les konen pou di nou ban mam lo prison advisory board.
Because when we go to visit them, we make known to them that we are members of the advisory prison board.
So zot konen e ki zot ape koze.
So they know who they are talking to.
Yeah.
E nou ti pou pare, nou pou nou se nou ken inmates ki di mon li enregistre incomplete.
And we would have been ready if there were any inmates that stated that they would like to register a complaint.
Okay. And again, just to reiterate that when I talk about trust, I'm not talking about trust in you as a person, but as the prison board. And I ask that question because when I'm reading the Prisons Act, it seems that the intention of the legal framework is that you have to have people who are managing the prison on a day-to-day basis, and that's your prison commissioner, that's your prison wards, and others. Then you have to have these oversight bodies. So
Yeah.
And the purpose of oversight bodies is to make sure that whatever that could potentially go wrong in the system, it's quickly identified and then it's addressed. And you obviously don't fix every problem, which is why I kept on drawing you back to welfare, because there are others that are there to primarily look at security, and although welfare and security, they interlink, but you are there to be the oversight. And for you to be effective in playing the oversight role, it's not enough for them to just know that you are the prison board, but they have to actually trust that you are an institution that can deal with their issues. And what that means is you also have to implement certain measures to build trust. And if you agree, did you do anything of that sort to make sure that you create a professional relationship between yourselves and the inmates, so that there is that trust?
Raison pour nous à entrer dans l'infrastructure, c'est pour nous justement pour nous on a sa qualité de connexion.
The reason we enter inside these infrastructures is for us to have that sort of connection.
And comme c'est l'opportunité pour autres voir nous comment un body qui est capable d'adresser autres avec in
The opportunity for them to see us as a body that they can address is there. It was there.
Mais seulement il pas arrive peut-être de la façon qui ou peut ou commission tient compte voir y arriver.
But it did not happen in the way that maybe the commission would have liked for it to happen.
Yeah, but maybe before we make that conclusion, and it's okay if you disagree with me, because what we are trying to do is now to explore ways of fixing the system. Would you agree with me that 5 visits since 2022, because you said since 2022 you can only remember 5 visits?
No. 2025 we had
So now,
5 visits.
Okay.
So we have record for the visits.
Okay.
that
So
we-
since 2025 you've had 5 visits. But and in each visit, how long is each visit when you go down there?
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. And how many inmates are we talking about? At Montagne, Posee one.
Well, we are there in the facility and available to whoever wants to speak.
Yeah, but the total
us.
number is about 300, 400, right?
Over 400.
Yes. So the point I'm trying to make is perhaps outside of the visits to go and inspect on the welfare, it perhaps would have been necessary to undertake some promotional activities to promote your role, so that the inmates are fully aware of your role and fully aware of your commitment, not to defend them or whatever, but your commitment to their welfare. That's the point I'm trying to make, which is that maybe it's not enough to just do a visit where you go and say, I want to inquire on the welfare, but maybe you needed to also do other things outside of that, including through the wardens, through the prison commissioner, to promote your role within the system. That's what I'm trying to
Même si n'a pas initiative par UPD là,
Even if there are none of the initiatives that you just said,
no commitment committee in qui say.
the commitment of the committee is one of that is quite serious.
À cause tout bon concerne qui même si à travers nos observations. Tout le monde concerne qui nous fait à travers nos observations, nos
Because every-
interactions.
Concerns that we had from our observation and interaction,
Nous prenons à cœur pour nous advise ministre Lola à travers nos bonnes recommandations qu'il nous fait.
we took it to heart to advise the ministers based on our recommendations.
Okay, but still on that, and which is why I came with that point. Both the doctor, the prison doctor, and the wardens, well, some of the wardens and the inmates have talked about poor access to medical care inside the prison. Right? They've talked about issues to do with the quality of food. Not that they're asking for special food, but that sometimes the food is cold when it is served to them. Not all the time, but sometimes. They've also spoken about the water that they bath with, which causes their skin to itch sometimes, right? And what we are saying is, and a lot of them spoke about the use of torture, right, as a way of disciplining them, or as a way of forcing them to do certain things. Then there is the issue of bullying, which we talked about earlier on. And all those issues, I am trying to connect them to your statement that, the prison riot was something in the making for a long time, right? And I'm thinking that, do you mean that apart from other factors that could have contributed to the riot, there is also these issues with respect to the welfare of prisoners?
Could be.
Right. But is it also true that some of these issues you didn't know about them as a prison board?
No. Some of them, no.
You didn't know, right? Right.
I wouldn't like to say yes, we knew. Some of them we didn't know. Like, for instance, regarding l'assistance médicale, the service médical.
No, that one we know
For
because we
example, with
didn't
the-
meet the doctor. But the torture, and you could have gotten this from the inmates themselves through your visits, but you didn't get them. And would it be something? I'm not saying it's definitely the point, because we need to investigate. But is it something possible that you didn't get this information in your visits because there is not yet a relationship of trust? Yes, statutorily you have the power, but you're dealing with human beings who are already vulnerable anyways, right? So maybe there is not yet a relationship of trust there, and that's where I was coming from with my point. That maybe there is no relationship of trust.
Well, quelquefois, il y a une relation qui n'est pas assez forte, et pas assez solidifiée.
Maybe it's a relation that is not quite strong or was not quite solidified.
Mais je comprends ce que c'est dit.
But I
Je comprends
understand
ce que
what
c'est dit.
you are trying to say, what you are saying.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Emmet, I come back to issue when I told you that, the information we gathered in the past was that the prison board frequently visited the prison. And obviously the frequency of their visit was programmed. And there were instances where the prison superintendents just got a call and said, we want to come and see the prisons. And the prison board just came in. And then they requested what they wanted to do, if they wanted to see prisoners, if they had particular prisoners to talk to. Because as I said, when we first started, I asked you if you ever got any written requests from prisoners or their families or whoever? You said no.
No.
Which obviously this existed in the past. And now I understand that when you visited the prisons, then there were reports. Whenever you visited, there were reports that was submitted to the minister and the superintendent of prisons. Okay. Now, from 2022, when you were at that time a board member, up till now, that you are now the chairperson, how frequently have you submitted reports to the minister and the superintendent of prisons?
During the first term, we submitted a midterm report and then the end of term report.
So that's two.
Two reports.
Two for the year 2022?
Two for the year 2022 and to 2024. However, we also had the interactions as well with the minister and the CP. And in 2020, and then up to now, we've submitted one report with the with the recommendations.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner. So the midterm reports, you submitted midterm reports in 2024.
Nous submitté un midterm report 2023.
We submitted a midterm report 2023.
Pour première fois qui m'ont part of sa board.
For the first time that I was part of that board.
Okay. Was there any report in 2025?
Non, un qui nous fait donner.
There is one that we just handed out.
Plus bonnet, oui. And nous don minister.
Earlier on, we gave to the minister.
Sorry, I just want to, because his question was how frequent. So how frequent are these midterm reports? Are they, because when we say midterm, it is in the middle of the term. Which term?
Meaning midterm of the 2 year.
Okay.
Of the 2 year, yeah.
2 years, okay.
Mais seulement, nous, l'information est still continuellement communiquée avec l'autorité. However, the
But the
return...
information are still communicated with the authority, but however...
nos reports, nous submitons formellement midterm avec la fin du terme.
The report are submitted formally midterm and then at the end of the term.
Okay. So the report for 2024 is submitted in
2023, and then we need to submit a report end of term 2024. Okay.
End of term 2024.
End of term.
So there is a report that was submitted end of 2024.
2024, yes.
Okay. So can we have access to that report?
Yes.
So the secretary will make a note. So that's together with the other documents that we asked.
The recommendation.
You send that midterm report. So that is the one submitted end of 2024, like covering 20. We want the one covering 2024, the incident we are investigating.
2024 for the first 2 years ended in April 2024.
Okay.
It did not end in
So it doesn't
December.
cover December.
It doesn't cover.
So the one that covered December
Will be the report that we are submitting now.
have you submitted it yet?
We've already submitted.
Yeah. Okay, can we have a copy of that one as well? Thank you very much, Ms. Emmett. Over to you, Commissioner.
Okay. Now, in those two reports that were submitted in 2023 and 2024, obviously in there we have all the issues that the authorities already know existed. Yes?
I don't know if Well, the issues that we observed.
Yeah, the administrative issues that already
We
existed,
observed,
they
yes.
know about this. So you just reminded them of what was going on. And obviously, the issues that they were not told was going on and that you told them was happening. Information that you were gathering from the inmates. Yeah, probably they were not known to them until you passed on the information.
Non. En réalité, par exemple, étant nous ti cause lo manger.
In reality, for example, when talking about food,
Zot yo courant pour dire ban inmates y complètement manger. So nous ti peux dire zot quelque chose qui ban inmates in dit zot.
they were aware that the inmates were complaining about food, so we were telling them something that the inmates had said to them.
Y pe quelque chose qui nous tin découvert qui zot pas ti connaît.
It was not something that we had discovered that they were unaware of.
À cause, par exemple, l'état nous ti cause avec previous CP qui est bout son mandat ti tombe en 2024.
Because, for example, when we spoke to the previous CP, that the part of the mandate of the CP fell on the year 2024.
Tout bonne observation qui t'amène à son attention avec son team, tin common knowledge pour autres.
All the information that was put to the attention of the CP's team was common knowledge to them.
Et autres tin fait certaines provisions, rectifications, quelque chose, les autres plans stratégiques.
And they had made certain provisions, certain rectifications to their strategic plan.
À cause nous ti gagné présentation autres plans stratégiques, nous ti demandé pour nous voir qui en a là.
Because we asked for the strategic plan to be showed to us to see what was on it, and they presented that to us.
Mais seulement how much achievement in an pour autres plans, mon papa au courant là.
But how much achievement they had as a result of their plan, I would not be aware of.
But do you do a follow-up, like to see whether implementation of the plans have been executed?
Nous fait ban follow-up.
Yes, we do follow-ups.
And nous avons présenté une limitation, par exemple, human resource. Il y a une major limitation.
And we are presented with limitations, for example, human resource, it's a major limitations.
I'm concerned here about food. Like you say, they had a strategic plan for amelioration of the menu or of the diet that they give to the prison. So do you have a follow-up on whether the diet has been improved or not?
Follow-up qui nous fait, c'est redemander about qui la situation était, quoi qu'ils ont pay order in terms of légumes pour bandi moun, mais c'est pour nous. Une fois nous dans l'état côté manger tu peux partager dans la cuisine, mais c'est moi qui nous pas capable de rendre, mais c'est après ça nous pas capable d'aller pour guetter quoi que bandi moun peut manger.
That we did was with regards to the types of vegetables that they were ordering, and one time we went inside the kitchen, de la cuisine pour voir. For us to be able to see what type of food was being prepared for them there.
Yeah. Main complète qui ban inmates poule tout le temps.
The main complaints that the inmates was complaining about was that they were eating chicken all the time.
Ça ça fait nous fatiguer avec poule.
It was an issue that they were saying we were tired with chicken.
And l'autorité prise fait nous connaît pour dire en les autres gagnent poisson mais il y avait des beurs et les temps autres à quoi poisson est plissé pour autres acheter.
And the prison authorities informed us that there are certain times whereby they would get fish to eat, but it was only when it was available, and sometimes it was much more expensive to buy fish.
Là côté bonne vérification que nous fait avec eux.
And that's where we did certain verifications with them.
I think you would agree with me that strategic plans on paper are beautiful. They are very nice to read, but to put them in practice is something else. Yeah? I mean, we could talk about a strategic plan now, but when you are gone, I take the strategic plan that we've just discussed about it, I put it in the drawer, and that's it. I'll wait for Mrs. Emmett to come back, and then we'll talk about the same strategic plan. And I will tell Madam Emmett what I want her to know, or what I want her to listen to. What I'm coming to is where Commissioner Vidot just asked, what were how did you review, how did you check that what was told to you was being implemented in practical?
OK. Grand merci, l'État nous discute le strategic plan, CP pas venir tout seul.
Thankfully, when we discuss on the strategic plan, the CP does not come by his or herself.
Ou bien l'État donne nos feedback, il parle aller tout seul.
Or when the feedback is given, the CP is not by his or herself.
So, il y a les autres officiers qui là, les autres high officers, et nous cas demandent questions, quantité de questions.
Other high officers who are there present, and we can ask a lot of questions.
Voir autres bon achievements.
To see their achievements.
And so, il pas quelque chose individu de management qui nous voit nous, qui nous dit nous ça, mais c'est il y a tout le monde qui a son rôle pour jouer là-dedans, qui dit côté y était avec l'implémentation des autres plans.
Not someone like, for example, a simple one person from the administration that would come and say that to us. It's different people in different roles that would come and present these things. In
Cabana, up to 6 officiers qui là et
it can be up to 6 officers.
Si tu as un drilling pour dire on a la réponse, il pas de masse à cause nous ne capable pas demander n'importe quelle question qui nous tient en vie. Vérifier n'importe quelle information qui nous tient besoin de voir avec eux.
Si tu as un drilling.
Si ils ont préparé pour.
If they had prepared.
Like ils ont rehearsed pour donner la réponse qu'ils ont à nous tendre.
If they had rehearsed, whereby they would give us the answers that we would have loved to hear at that time.
Oui, mais ils ne sont pas capables à cause il y en a plus que CP dans le meeting, il y en a plus 6 officiers, high-level officiers de prison.
They were unable to do so because there were not only CP, there were other high levels, or almost 6 officers, high-level officers from the prison that was there.
Et le comité est capable d'interagir avec eux et demander questions.
And the committee was able to interact with them and ask them questions.
Did you ever question the authorities, the prison authorities, to submit to you, or if they had any SOPs written for the different heads that was involved in the prison?
SOPs for the different heads?
Yes.
In what way?
SOPs that would help in the proper functioning of the prisons, whereby you were seeing that there was problems with the security, problems with cameras, and different problems that you encountered. Were there SOPs in place that were there to sort of help you?
Non, nous pas voir SOPs in place, mais seulement common sense in dicté.
No, we did not see SOPs in place, but common sense dictated things.
Okay. Maybe just a follow-up question on that one. Then we can get to the common sense part. So, did you, as the prison board, inquire into whether the prison service had adequate policies that speak to the welfare of the inmates at any point in the 2 terms that you have been in the board? To do any audit of the policy framework?
Not specifically question about policies, but about the articles in the Prison Act with regards to welfare of prisoners. This is where we realize that it doesn't make provision for an inmate to present a grievance under the Act, and meaning it has to be done under the regular prison, the regulation of the prison as such.
Yeah. Okay, so I've taken note of your answer that not exactly an inquiry that is dedicated on the policy framework, but I want us to carry on with where you already had taken me to, because that's exactly where I'm going. That there are some serious gaps. For example, did you know that the prison service does not have regulations?
I know they are lacking in regulations, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is this something that you brought up as a board? Because you say you know.
In our recommendations, these are things that we've pointed out. We've pointed out to the authority.
Minister. So you pointed this out to the former minister?
Pour les scone, oui, non les scone, ban gaps qui nous yana.
We made them aware of the gaps that existed.
And
sorry, I'm just asking about the regulation. So you made this aware to the former minister?
Par exemple,
Yes.
Régulation côte inmates pour adresser les complaintes.
For example, a regulation whereby the inmates addresses their complaints.
And
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want us to go into details about because the regulations are a booklet.
Yeah.
So there would be so many things. So if you say you actually made the minister aware, is it part of the report you are going to share with us?
Moi, vous avez vérifié pour moi si mon l'école là.
I will have to verify for me to be sure.
I
cannot recall now.
Yeah, I'm asking that question because the former minister. So I think we should the former minister, so that we don't create confusion. The former minister is Mr.
Fonseca.
Fonseca, yeah. He said nobody ever told him that there are no regulations. And he indeed actually thought that there were regulations. So that's why I'm asking this question, that is it there in your report? Okay.
I will have to verify.
Yeah. But now you had taken us to the issue of discipline, because we have received complaints, and I'm not saying at this particular point these complaints are necessarily true or not, right? So we're not making a judgment as yet, but the complaints are there of inmates who say either they witnessed an inmate being harassed by the former CP of prison, or saying I was harassed by the former CP. Where does that inmate report to? So, in short, I'm saying, if I am an inmate and I'm harassed by the CP, whether it's the former or the current, where do I report?
You report to the CP.
I report to the CP.
As it is, as it is under the regulations, this is non-existent.
Yeah.
In the Act. So there is a conflict there. Because
there is a gap. I'm just worried that we are not sure whether in the previous report of the board this is an issue that is...
I need to verify.
Yeah, because it looks like a very big issue, which is creating a gap. Then I think another, or maybe before I go there, because I had interfered with.
That's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there is something also that came up, and then, by the way, some of these, in fact, most of these issues are not personal. They are not a reflection of you. You see, they are things that we are asking in order to understand how the institution that you are part of works, and if there are areas where the institution can be strengthened. Right? So that's why we are asking this question. So there's a point that you made in response to Commissioner Vidot's question, and he had asked you what steps have you taken in response to the so-called riot. I'm saying so-called not because I don't want to give my opinion. Others say riot, others say disturbance, right? But we know what we are talking about. So he asked you, what steps did you take in response to this incident, these disturbances that happened on 5 and 6 December? And then you said we wanted to give the police space to do their job, right? So I just want us to dig a little bit more on that aspect, because he then said to you, but your role and the role of the police, yes, they are linkages, but they are separate, right? So, for example, the police would be interested in who killed an inmate inside the prison and who beat the other inmate who then died in the hospital. So these are crimes. So that's what the police would primarily be interested in. But nothing stops you from questioning and inquiring on the welfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you address us on, if at all there's anything you did after this major incident that happened for 5 and 6, to go back to the issue of welfare and say maybe there are some things to be dealt with there, probably urgently. Is there something you did, and what is it?
En réalité, c'est ça, nous avons dit le 12 décembre, nous avons à la côte prison.
In reality, that's why we said on the 12th of December, we went to the prison.
Avec l'intention, in fact, pour nous capables connaître plus qui est arrivé et pour nous faire l'intervention que nous devons faire.
With the intention to know more about what had happened and to do the intervention that was necessary for us to do.
Mais seulement si nous pas gagné l'approbation pour entrer en dedans, pour interacter avec inmates.
But if we do not get the approval to enter inside to interact with the inmates.
À cause de l'intervalle, je comprends au point pour dire la police pour investiguer quelque chose crime qui est arrivé.
I understand your point about the fact that the police was investigating things pertaining to crimes that had happened.
Yeah. Mais ce qui nous a fait comprendre, c'est que la police peut interacter avec bandits qui impliqué dans sa situation.
But what we was made to understand was that the police was interacting with people that was implicated in this incident.
Et ça te fait dire alors un empêchement pour nous capables à l'intervenir.
And this sorts of impedes us from intervening.
Et après ça, à peu près 2 ou 3 mois, pas qu'à recall là vraiment.
And after that, 2 to 3 months, I cannot recall now correctly.
Nous inquire about findings la police, investigation la police.
We inquired about the finding of the police investigation.
And Saki.
But maybe before we go to the police investigation, because probably he might want to lead us in that one, we just let's talk a bit more about what you have just said now. So first, you were not given authorization to get in in January.
In December.
Right. And then the other issue that you raised is you couldn't talk to the inmates because the police said can't interfere with the witnesses.
Not the police, mais l'autorité prison qui m'a fait nous comprendre pour dire sa situation, il y a l'investigation à la police.
Not the police, but the prison authority made us understand that this situation was under police investigation.
Okay, so those are the two issues that I want us to talk a little bit more about. So the first one is, do you understand that you don't need anyone's authorization?
Nous comprenons, oui.
I understand,
get
yes.
into the prison? Yes, you can decide by yourself, having taken advice from the prison authorities that it is not safe to get in. But nobody has any authority to stop you. So when you say we were not given authorization, you mean authorization from who?
L'autorisation from management prison.
From the management of the prison.
À cause là, nous sommes allés en décembre, nous pas tiré sens pour nous. Si je recall bien, mon quoi CP pas available.
If I recall correctly, when we went in December, the CP I think was unavailable.
Bon, vous avez vérifié nos minutes là.
I will have to verify the minutes we have on this.
Mais nous tirons, moi assuré, nous tirons interaction avec Chief Inspector.
But I am sure that we interacted with the Chief Inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of those have any power to authorize you to enter the prison. At least that is your power. That is what your instrument says. So I'm not asking this question in order to pin anyone down, but I just want to see if we have the same understanding, and if you agree with me that by refusing to authorize you to enter into the prison at the time that you went there, whoever did that was acting outside of their power.
Mon papa dit tiens refuse non pas entrer en dedans.
I would not say that they refused refused to allow us to enter inside.
Moi quoi c'est plutôt une précaution.
I think that it was more like a precaution.
À cause c'est justement presse avec l'incident l'état national là-bas.
Because it was the day that we went there was quite close to the day the incident happened.
So you received advice, and you took the advice into consideration, and you decided by yourself that it is not safe to proceed.
Oui.
Okay. So I think we need to take out the point where you said we didn't get authorization.
Ah oui, nous pas gagné l'autorisation pour dire non, nous pas capable aller dans là-bas. What
Oui.
qui mon mean c'est que nous pas gagné sa permission pour dire la porte ouverte aller entrer là-bas.
What I meant was that we did not receive permission stating that the door is open so you can go inside there.
Ça l'empêchement pour aller dans là-bas, c'est basé le timing qui nous a là-bas et précaution pour bandi moun lo board as well.
Being prevented to go there was based on the timing that we went there and the precaution that the
Okay.
people were taking
But
there.
that's the part which is confusing me. Because I thought earlier on I heard you saying we didn't get authorization. And then you said, no, you don't mean it that way. So I thought, okay, let's just take out that word because that's not what you meant. But then when you explain more, you keep talking about not getting permission. Right. So can I ask you differently? Did you ask that you want to go inside the prison?
Yes.
Okay. Did anyone say to you, you are not going to get in?
This is not the terme que ngai serve.
This is not the term that was used.
Terme que ngai serve c'est que je t'encore pour settle sa situation.
The term used was that they were still settling the situation.
Et la police peut intervenir.
And the police was intervening.
Et pas advisable à l'intervalle pour nous en sa interaction.
And it was not advisable at that time for us to have that interaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, let's move to the second issue. I raised the issue of your duty to continue engaging with the prisoner authorities and the prisoners after 6 December 2024, even though there were criminal investigations taking place. And then you gave some details on how you engaged. Did you, in your engagement, find out that there were inmates who had been badly injured as a result of the disturbances that happened on 5 and 6 December?
Mon apprend about sa information, lo media,
I got that information on the media,
lo rapport qui ban communiqué qui sorti contre la police.
on the reports of the different communicates that are sent to the police.
So you didn't visit to...
No.
No.
Okay. And I understand that the reason why earlier on you couldn't get in is because the situation was tense. But that information, and when I'm saying that information, I mean information about injuries, is not information that you can only get from going inside the prison. You can also get it by having one-on-one meetings with a few inmates.
Vous connaissez sa situation qui présente une quantité de dilemmes là-dedans.
That situation had a lot of dilemma.
Okay.
Yeah. And quelque chose qui ont désir faire
Things that you desire to do
avec quelque chose qui est capable de faire.
and things that you can do.
Qui like collide in a way.
It collided in a
À
way.
cause nous, comme un board, nous demandons les corps beaucoup de questions qui concernent nos involvement dans la situation.
Because as a board, we ask ourselves a lot of questions as well, where it concerned our involvement in the situation.
Peut-être à cause il y a l'offense criminelle,
Maybe because there were criminal offenses,
ça a joué un rôle aussi pour faire nous rester dans un dilemme.
and that played a role
Look,
to keep us in that
Qui
dilemma.
manière ou move forward.
So how do you move forward?
But I hear you that there are criminal investigations that are going on. But I mean, I will give you an example maybe so that you can understand where I'm coming with this question. If, God forbid, if here there is an accident, two people fight here, and another one is injured, so is badly injured, so we'll call the ambulance, right? And the medics will come here, but the police will also come. They're already here. They are both working on the victims or the individual. So the police will do their arrests and their investigations, but the medics will treat the person. Right? And I'm thinking from the same perspective, that as a prison board, your primary responsibility in terms of the law is to address issues that may have something to do with welfare. And you are aware from media reports and all these communications that you cited that there might have been some serious injuries at the prison. I don't see how that conflicts with criminal investigations, because it's your role to find out and speak to specific, if I mean, you don't have to get inside the prison, you can meet with the doctor actually, and the doctor and the prison commissioner can help you to meet with a few who are injured or are badly injured, so that you understand what you need to understand. For me, I'm thinking you immediately need to be satisfied as a prison board that those badly injured inmates are getting adequate treatment.
I understand you.
Yeah. So that's where I am coming from. And so do you think when you look back now, maybe you could have done more?
Définitivement, étant mon regard en arrière.
Definitely, yes, when looking back.
And peut-être si nous sommes capables, on a un peu plus bonne perspective, le dilemme qui existait.
And if we could have a different perspective on the dilemma that existed.
Mon imaginaire, oui, nous avons fait quelque chose différemment.
Imagine, yes, that we could have done things differently.
Yeah.
But did you? Because I'm also thinking, I am grateful for your honest view on that. I'm just also wondering whether you got any advice at the time on how to deal with this situation. Is it something that you discussed amongst yourself and you then took a decision that you are not going to engage with the inmates? Where did that decision come from?
Nous avons discuté entre nous-mêmes.
We discussed amongst ourselves.
And nous partis pour une décision pour ne pas engage at all. Nous pas prendre qualité décision.
And we did not make decision for us not to engage at all.
Qui nous fait nous plutôt focus le interacter avec management prison.
We focused more on interacting with the management of the
Par
prison.
exemple, nous meeting en masse étant nous type regarde le progrès l'investigation, le progrès. Par exemple, ban garde aussi qui a été tenu en otage under la prison, nous devons find out qui qualité support pour adresser trauma tiana l'osine pour ban inmates qui pas involved, bien ban qui involved et aussi ban staff qui involved.
So we also, for example, in our meeting in March, we looked at the different progress of the investigation itself, about the officers that was held hostage, about the support that we needed to address, about the trauma that others received on the scene for the inmates that were implicated and those that were not implicated as well in the incident.
So nous devons plutôt gagner bonne information avec l'autorité prison.
So we more or less got the information from the authorities of the prison.
Mais c'est moi nous pas refuser like pour dire like nous peut dismiss sa situation, l'importance de sa situation.
But we were not dismissive about the importance of that situation.
This is in March 2020.
In March 2025.
2025. You met and you specifically had a discussion about the how to address trauma.
Qui m'a trauma peut gagner adressé c'est un service qui peut gagner donné.
How are trauma being addressed if there were services being given?
En même temps, nous au courant pour dire il y en a manquement sa qualité de service et sa connaissance le terrain. Même si nous connaissons un manquement, mais c'est nous les connaissons qui m'a ça peut gagner adressé.
We were aware that there was a lapse in that about the services that were being offered on the field, even if we were aware of that. Même si vous étiez au courant.
Oui, nous still besoin demander à cause.
We still had to ask for it, even if we were aware of that, because it was important.
Yeah, maybe it's the way we are expressing this, because what I wanted to understand is, and maybe I can just disclose that in the work that we are doing, we have come across incredible evidence that demonstrates that some, not all of them, but some of the inmates are traumatized by what happened on 5 and 6 December. They cannot sleep. Some of them have panic attacks, they have anxiety, which again it's a welfare issue, but it also contributes to the atmosphere in prison. So I am sitting here wondering if you as a board, because earlier on I spoke about injured inmates, and I understand you could not get in, but there are other ways of trying to establish if they are getting adequate treatment, and these are the physically injured ones. But then there are others who are mentally injured. Some who, I think the last time we did hearings, they were threatening to take the law into their hands when they get out of prison. So it means it becomes a bigger issue. So I'm just wondering whether you had anything that you recommended on wellness support for the prisoners. That is, if you knew in the first place as a board that there is such a problem inside prison.
Feedback qui nous type gagné avec ban officiers qui nous type jeune avec c'est qui ban di mon type quand follow up médicalement ban qui type follow up médicalement.
That we were getting from the officers that we were meeting with was that people was getting follow up, medical follow up.
So mais seulement tu n'as pas mention qu'il y en a dit mon peut rentrer dans aucune thérapie.
But there was no mention of people being submitted to
you were
therapy.
Not aware. You were not told.
We were not told about that specifically, mais seulement nous n'est quelque chose qu'on dit qui m'ont réalisé nous gagner blind spot là.
There's something that you said that I am realizing now. It was a blind spot for us.
Pour nous causer avec docteur.
For us to talk to the doctor.
Yeah.
So mon imagine si nous tu fais sa communication avec docteur.
I imagine that if we communicated with the doctor.
And ça tipo area que nous t'caba pour approfondir plus.
This was an area that we could go more profound in.
However, mon connais petit docteur yo aussi une reconnaissance.
However, I know that the doctor also has his own knowledge.
Il peut faire son assessment, il peut faire appropriate referral avec mental health.
And that he would do his assessment and appropriate referral with
Mais c'est mon point à point qui nous devons avoir une conversation avec ça, docteur.
But I do take into account the point that we should have had a conversation with the doctor.
And I'm grateful for your honesty on that point. It is true that the doctor himself or herself has an oversight role as well. Should have also been able to. But anyway, they appeared before us, and I think let's not address that now. The point I am trying to make, Ms. Eminit, is this: you are not you as a person, but the board is an oversight board. So you actually, your role is to be a monitor and a prefect to the commissioner of prisons and the staff. That is your role. And if you are going to depend on the commissioner of prisons and staff for information, then you may not be able to discharge your oversight roles properly. You remember the story, the example we laughed about earlier on, that if I am an inmate and I am harassed by the commissioner of prison, who do I report to? Right? There is a view, perhaps not yet concluded on that, but there's a view that the disturbances that happened in prison were contributed to by the way the prison was managed. So if in your post-mortem meetings you were meeting with the prison's management only, it definitely means that you were not getting the complete picture of the situation there, and maybe that's why you were not told that there's a crisis or there's an extensive problem with wellness of some of the inmates there. But let's move to this last one, still on your role as a welfare oversight institution. Did you meet with either of the two families who lost their members as a result of the disturbances?
En réalité, nous pas voir ça as une responsabilité.
In reality, we did not see this as one of our responsibilities.
Et mon peut imaginer quelquefois ça il y a un oversight en réalité nous pas ni connaître si nous devons voir la bonne famille.
I'm thinking that this might be an oversight. We did not even know that we should see the family.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, yes, I know that earlier we talked about investigating complaints. So when it comes to complaints, the law is very clear. You only have the right or the authority to deal with complaints that are referred to you by the minister. So in other words, if the family of the deceased or any of the inmates come with complaints to you, you don't have the authority to deal with them, right? But you also have a role, which is actually your role number one in terms of the law, to advise the minister on matters relating to prison welfare. So in order for you to advise, you are not just going to advise based on information you have collected from prison visits, but from meeting different stakeholders, which is what you told us earlier on. Right? You meet with civil society, you meet with doctors, you meet with different stakeholders, including in government. And I'm just saying, yes, I take your point that you didn't think that it was your mandate, but I think it was clearly your mandate to meet with the deceased members the families of the deceased members, to at least, number one, of course, console and express your sympathy as an oversight body responsible for this. But number two, to also obtain their perspective on prison welfare, because that's what you are trying to deal with, if you get my point. So I'm trying to push back politely.
No, I comprends.
Yeah,
I understand
on the point that you made, that you didn't think it was your role. I think this one would have been a bit more obvious that this is our role as a board.
Pour joindre avec famille ban qui décédé.
To meet with the family of the deceased.
Et tu prends quelque chose en réalité que nous tu peux welcome faire, mais seulement accepter que nous pas nous aller inouler pour nous là-dedans.
It would have been something that we would have welcomed, but we did not see it as a lane that we should have gone in.
Yeah.
And maybe because of your answer, I'm prompted to ask this question as well. Maybe before the riot and after the riot, do you in any way interact with families of or members of families, or families who have inmates there?
Non, nous pas interacter avec famille.
Yeah.
No, we do not interact with the family.
Yeah. Maybe it's something you might consider. I mean, it's not possible to meet with all the families, but you might want to have a way of engaging with them, so that you obtain information regarding the welfare of prisoners, which you may not be getting through other channels. For example, one of the complaints we dealt with here, or rather we received here, is that part of the reason why the riot ended up happening is that the inmates were not receiving their articles, in other words, their monthly allocation of basic items to use inside the prison. And so there was a protest about that. And then when we inquired further, we were told that no, but this is something that actually happens continuously. And then others complained that they were being prevented from meeting their family members, and no reasons were being given as to why their family members were not being given access to. We take it that sometimes there might be legitimate and lawful reasons for that, especially where criminal investigations are being conducted. But also, it's an issue that the prison board would have to, might have to be aware of. And maybe you would be aware of it if you interact with the families, because they are the ones who would probably be able to tell you that, yes, this happened, not as a complaint by them, but as you engaging stakeholders, because families are an important stakeholder here.
M'entends bien, and on peut réfléchir ban l'article dans Prison Act, responsabilité
reflecting on the articles in the Prison Act and the responsibility therein.
Peut-être il devrait avoir un revue sa party act.
Maybe there needs to be a revision on that part of the act.
À cause faire un petit peu plus explicite, faire un peu plus clair.
Make it more clearer.
Mais ça va faire sens, ça que vous pouvez dire.
But what you are saying, it makes sense.
No, I think I agree with you that perhaps because we are trained as lawyers, so we'll be able to read and understand certain things, but it's not very clear for everyone, so that needs to be clear. But do you also, as a board, have internal rules and regulations on how you do your work?
Nous suivons un procédure qui est normal pour anybody qui fait partie d'un comité côté ou besoin attendre meetings.
We follow a procedure that it is normal for anyone that is part of a committee to attend meetings.
And par acte dit il y a quelque chose qui nous pas agréé, quelque chose ensemble parce que nous pas agréé, nous pour besoin aller plus devant avec.
And like the act says, if we agree, we can agree on things, and where we do not agree on things, we need to move to bring it forward to some other.
So two things I'm picking from your response. So one is you do not have written regulations.
Nous n'avons pas written regulations, nous suivons ça qui simplement qui acte dit.
So
we follow simply what the act says.
You use what you are describing as common sense, right? And then you follow, of course, the problem with common sense, Madam Hammond, is that it's not always obvious that if you think this is common sense, the other person also thinks that. But I'm asking about these rules and regulations because it looks to me as I'm sitting here that your work is so huge as a board. Because you are primarily there to be an oversight body for one of the most vulnerable populations in the country, but also potentially problematic. I'm not saying problematic, I'm saying potentially problematic, because it would be wrong for us to sit here and create an impression that every prisoner is well behaved. That's not the evidence we are receiving. Some prisoners are poorly behaved, others are. So you are there as an oversight body that is managing one of the most vulnerable population groups, but also potentially problematic, and potentially a group that can actually create a security threat for the country. The other day we were sitting here with the former minister, and he was telling us that his biggest concern at that time was that there can be a prison break, which then can affect a lot of things, including tourism. And your job is to manage that population. And it is incredibly difficult to manage it without rules and procedures. It is in those rules and procedures where I think some of your powers may be explained, still based on the Prison Act, but may be explained, including who are the critical stakeholders that you need to engage with. You know, the families, civil society, the educators, and all these other people. So perhaps that's something we can agree that there is a need to actually have written, expanded rules and regulations and procedures beyond regulating how you meet, but also the work that you do in terms of Section 36 of the Prison Act. Okay, so maybe that can be one of the measures or steps that can be taken to reform the institution. Okay, no, thank you very much. I think we can take a 5-minute break and then we come back after five minutes, perhaps move towards the end of the testimony.